Hey everyone, it's Ira from North Shore Digital here, and I wanted to talk today a little bit about the most important metrics, the metrics you should really be paying attention to in Google Ads. So I brought up our handy company interface here, and these are some ads that we're running. So I'm just going to go through this a little bit from probably the least important metrics. More of the kind of vanity metrics that you shouldn't really care that much about, to more important kind of conversion metrics. So if you look at the dashboard here, you can see I've arranged my columns here in my reporting, just my campaign reporting, according to what I think are the least important to the most important metrics to measure success for your campaign. So I just have campaign type and cost as well. Just to give you an idea, they kind of give a little bit of context to the other metrics. So we'll kind of start going left to right. So this first one is impressions. So basically what impressions are is how many times your ad's shown. And a lot of people get hung up on impressions because they really want their ad to be out there for their business, and they want to make sure that it's showing. And that's great. It's great that your ad is being seen, but what's important is that people are clicking on your ad, and that click is converting to a lead. You're converting that lead, and you're getting revenue and profit, and most importantly, a positive return on ad spend for your campaign. So impressions are basically how much your ad has shown. You can see here there's a massive difference in these two campaigns. So this one has 900 impressions. This has 11,000. But the cost is only twice as much for the one with 11,000 impressions. And campaigns can have a widely varying numbers of impressions. And a rule of thumb is something like a display campaign will have a very low cost per click, tons of impressions, but a lower click-through rate and a lower conversion rate. You can kind of see that as you go down. So let's go over a little bit. So the next one that we're looking at is clicks. So basically how many clicks your ad got. And now clicks out of context don't really mean that much, but when you divide clicks into impressions, you get something called click-through rate or interaction rate in some cases. So this click-through rate is something that you want to begin to kind of take notice of. So click-through rate is basically showing you how engaging your ads are for the keyword that's been searched. So something that's really relevant and really engaging, people want to click on. So that's great. That's something that you want to start to pay attention to, and you can use this to begin to do things like test keywords and split test ads. A high click-through rate doesn't mean you're going to get sales and revenue, but it's definitely a good start, and it begins to be a proxy for those things. So you can see here this click-through rate is 36%. So that means almost a third or over a third of people that see this ad are clicking on it. So that's a really relevant ad. This one here is 3%. I think that's a display campaign. Or it looks like a smart campaign there, so it's getting about a tenth of the click-through rate. So I'll kind of look at this and say, okay, what's the reason for that? You can start to analyze based on click-through rate. The next one is conversions. So conversions can mean a lot, and you're going to have to either hire somebody or get a little bit technical in integrating your website CMS, content management platform, with Google Analytics and Google Ads. To measure conversions in your account. So these are things like if you're doing a lead generation campaign, if somebody's called you, if they've filled out an inquiry form, if they've emailed you. So this is what you're trying to generate with the campaign. And so if you divide this number of conversions, divide cost by number of conversions, and you get your cost per conversion. So that's a next metric that you want to pay attention to, because you want this to be lower. The less you're paying for conversions, especially if they're quality conversions, the better ROI typically you'll have on your campaign. But it depends on the value for conversion. So we'll talk about that next. The next metric is conversion rate. So conversion rate is a function of how many people clicked on your site and how many of them converted to business. So it's basically conversions into clicks. And here you can see it's 12%. I'm happy with that. Let's go down to this other. So that's 9%. So now you can see the conversion rate for these two campaigns is pretty close, even though the click-through rate was far off. So Not a lot of people clicked through from this smart campaign, but those few that did click through converted at almost the same rate as my other campaign. So you can see that if you're just evaluating on click-through rate, you're not getting the full story. The next metric that's definitely important is conversion value. And so conversion value, there's two ways that I think about this. The first is the revenue that you're getting from the conversion. That's the easiest way to think about it. So if I have a product that sells for $100 and I had a conversion and that conversion led to closed business, then that would be the value that I would place. However, when you look at conversion value, you can also place value on micro conversions. So these are basically actions that a certain amount of time they'll lead to a sale, a certain percentage of time they'll lead to a sale. So for example, if you know typically that a tenth of your emails convert to $100 worth of business, and a fifth of your phone calls convert to $100 worth of business, I would place a value, so you can do that in your conversions under the tools and settings. I would place a value of twice as much on the phone calls. They're twice as valuable to me. I know historically they convert a lot better. And the final metric, this is kind of the big dog metric, this is the one you really want to pay attention to, is this conversion value for cost. So that's basically your return on ad spend. So in your account, you can bid for ROAS, so return on ad spend, and this is the data that Google Analytics uses for those bid strategies. So you can see here for this campaign, it's 20. So for every dollar I put in, I get $20 of conversion value back. Now, that might not actually flesh out your numbers at the end of the month or at the end of your fiscal year when you look at your revenue, because you place conversion value, say, on emails of $10, and that particular month or that particular year, you actually got better or worse conversion rates for emails. But it's a great way to tweak and iterate and figure out what that's going to be over time, and bid for conversion value rather than conversions, and bid for conversions rather than just for clicks. So this conversion value, that's kind of the ultimate metric you want to look at. Conversions is a good one to look at, conversion rate. Click-through rate will help you split test ads and keywords and make your ads more engaging, which generally will lead to more engaged website visitors. Impressions, not really telling you too much. I mean, if you're doing something like a brand awareness campaign, you want your brand to be out there, you might want to pick a campaign that has a lot more impressions, that's, bringing you a similar conversion value. But if you look here, I'm getting about half the conversion value for cost, so half the ROI for this kind of brand campaign that's producing a ton more impressions. So do I want to sacrifice value for brand awareness? Well, that's a decision for you as a business owner. But if you're doing a lead generation campaign, if you're trying to grow revenue with Google Ads, you want to be looking at this conversion value for cost. And there's a feedback mechanism involved in that as well. So if you're working for a business, or if you're an agency working with a business, it's great to kind of plug into your CRM and say, okay, I had these 39 conversions. We closed 10 of those, and the value of that business was exactly this much. And the lifetime value of this business was exactly this much. And you can feed that back in and get a more precise kind of measure of this conversion value rather than estimating how much business you'll close. So if you can get the business owners on board with reporting back the value, or if you're a small business owner, keeping track of every lead and the value that it's producing, you can get a super accurate conversion value measurement, and then feed it back into your campaign and bid for conversion value, so you've optimized your campaign to produce revenue and even profit and profit margin, rather than just clicks or impressions or even click-through rate. So those are the metrics that I would look at in terms of least important to most important. But remember, you want to create a positive return on ad spend. You're always looking to increase your return on investment. And so this conversion value is key to that. That's it for now. You can visit us at northshore.digital. We do Google Ads management, web development, hosting. So check us out, northshore.digital.